Hey everyone, I'm Garrett. I am 21 years old and I just bought this 40-foot sailboat. For the last 2 years, I've been sailing my North Sea 27. I've done about 6,500 miles so far from Hawaii to Tahiti, all over French Polynesia, and then to Fiji, where I've sailed about 1,500 miles around the islands here. It's been a great little boat. I love it, and I'm going to be sad to sell it, but I've decided it's time to move to something a little bigger, more capable, and safe to take a crew on board. This is a Hans Christian 40 Christina. It's not a traditional like some of you may know about, because it has a flat stern instead of a canoe stern. That has its pros and its cons. I think mostly pros, but I've been looking at this boat for about 6 months now, since March. It was out of my budget at $85,000, but there was an osmosis problem discovered in the hull, which means water gets under the fiberglass in between the barrier coat and the epoxy, and it sort of rots over time and turns into an acidic solution, which isn't good, but it's fixable, and that took $35,000 off the price. It was listed for 85, and then it was under contract for 80, but I managed to get it for 45,000 US dollars right next to Hooligan, so I'll be able to transfer all my stuff off without taking flights and worrying about selling it and all that stuff. So it's worked out really well. I'm really happy about it, and I'll give you a little tour. This really is a significant upgrade from Hooligan. Just the keel alone, which is the big chunk of lead on the bottom, weighs 1 Hooligan, and on top of that there are another 2 Hooligans. So the boat is 22,000 pounds, it's 40 feet overall, and the water line is 33 feet. The sailing speeds I'm going to get are going to be completely shocking compared to what I've been doing for the last 2 years. I'll go more into detail later about the timing of pulling this off and what's next, all that, but for now I'm going to go upstairs and show you the inside. I've already spent a decent amount of time going through the boat, cleaning everything, reorganizing with my friend Laura, so I've got a good idea of where everything is, how stuff works. I planned on doing this tour first thing, but that's just not how it happened. So here's the tour. There is so much to go through, so I'm just going to start with what's easy. The cabin layout. You can see there's an astronomical amount of space compared to Hooligan. So as I mentioned in the past, one of the biggest reasons I'm upgrading is that I don't have to do this all alone anymore. I still want the option to be able to single hand, which is still possible on this boat, but I also want to be able to take people. So I think I've got room for about 5 to 6 on full capacity if people are willing to share bunks and all that. So this couch pulls out, these cushions slide and extend, turns into a big-ish bed for one person here. There's a really large seating area and a big couch over here. Brand new cushions over here as well. Everything was new in that area. This table doesn't convert into a bed. That's something I'd like to change when I get somewhere cheap, like the Philippines or Thailand, because then I could fit 2 people here as well. 6 on this boat might be a bit ambitious, so I'm not sure at the moment, but yeah, I can easily fit 4 along this table. Eat comfortably. On Hooligan there wasn't really even a place for 2 people to eat. It was just kind of me, which isn't ideal. Here's the aft cabin. Easily room for 2 back here, as long as they're willing to share a large bed. Lots of storage as well. This is where I put all my life jackets and harnesses, all that stuff. There's a hatch up there, porthole here, and the massive 110-gallon fuel tank is below. Hooligan carried I think 25 gallons, so I'll get about 3 times the range I think on this boat. This door here closes. There's a nice big mirror on that side. Up here in the front is the forward cabin. There's another really large bed for 1 to 2 people. This is where I've been sleeping. Pretty comfortable. This door doesn't close for some reason. I think somebody must have used an aftermarket door. Because the latch doesn't even line up with the female part of the latch, so that's a bit funny. The previous owner thinks it's a new door. We'll go with that because I don't want to deal with bulkhead issues at the moment. There's tons of storage below the bed as well in these cupboards. There's 6 of them total. They're all beautifully made, and I think I've got enough storage in all these to basically store everybody on the boat's clothes. That's what this is going to be for, but all this stuff is so well made, and I believe how these boats were actually built is that they would build the hull in a factory in either Thailand or Taiwan, and then they would give it to a local woodworker family, and then they would outfit it with all this beautiful teak and mahogany. So I can imagine if you were to buy all this teak today, it would cost at least as much as what I paid for this boat. And then in this bin, it's going to be where I store all of my spare tools, electrical parts, fishing gear, freediving fins. Then up front, there's this really nicely sized head, or bathroom if you want to call it that. There's a shower, there's a sink, there's a toilet, and all sorts of storage around. Hooligan didn't have a shower. Here's the galley. I think this is probably the biggest upgrade of it all when it comes to the bigger boat. There's a basically new stove and oven, which gimbals, meaning I can actually cook while I'm sailing now and bake bread if I want to. And then up here, there's a big fridge where you can load it from the top or from the side over here. So that's awesome. I can probably carry a month's worth of food in here compared to Hooligan where I could carry about a week. And I've actually got a freezer over here. And then in this little cubby over here, or big cubby, I've got probably 2 or 3 months worth of food for 4 to 5 people. With Hooligan, I could really only carry about a month's worth of food for 2 people, which just completely limited what I was able to do with the boat. This is the chart table, captain's table, whatever you want to call it. I like having this because on Hooligan, my office was also my kitchen and my eating area and my living room and my bed all in one, and that makes it really hard to build habits, I think, because there's never any separation between sort of locations where you're supposed to do different tasks. But I've got this nice big office now, and I can lay out paper charts if I want. It's big enough to do that. I'd like to learn how to fully use a sextant to do celestial navigation, but that's a later problem. I've got too much to do right now. The engine is here beneath the sink. They're usually under the cockpit, but because the cockpit is the big storage area on this boat, it's under here. This is a Yanmar 66 horsepower 4J HTE. It's turbocharged. It's only got 1,300 hours on it, which is good for me. I'm hoping it'll last a long time with no problems, but knock on wood. I've already changed the fuel pump and serviced the stern gland, so it's up and running. It starts up right away, runs perfectly, and I'm pretty happy with it. Because the engine is under the sink, that allows for this massive area back here for storage. I've got so much stuff back here. Actually, most of the stuff I took off Hooligan is in here, and it's just huge. Basically everything I need for the boat can fit in there. All the batteries are back here and the fridge compressor, but other than that, it's all just wide open for storage. I've got, chemicals, sea anchor, ropes, spear guns, fishing equipment, and all that stuff in here. So this frees up a lot of space to actually make the boat livable. And under this big settee, there's a massive water tank that goes almost all the way around. I'm guessing this probably carries 60 or 70 gallons. And then the one below here probably carries about 50. And then that one is about 40. So total there's 150 or 160 gallons of water on the boat. Hooligan had 20 gallons internal. So I still need to get a water maker. I'm not going to do it at the moment because I can't afford it, obviously, after buying this boat. But yeah, I'm actually going to be able to go on long distance adventures now, which just wasn't possible on Hooligan. All right, coming out to the cockpit. This is wheel steering, not tiller. It's more practical, I think, than the tiller. I do like how you can really feel what the boat's doing with the tiller, but for hand steering for long periods of time, I think the wheel's much better. And there's an autopilot on the wheel. So the autopilot attaches directly to the center of the wheel. There's a little disc back here that you snap into place, and it engages, and then the control panel's here. It might not be quite as good as one of them that's mounted to the actual steering quadrant, but it's super simple, and if it breaks, you just take it off and put a new one on. It also came with this nice chart plotter, big compass, in case all the electronics go down someday. It's also got this really nice dodger, which also turns into a full enclosure sort of thing back to the bimini. No water's going to be coming through here, hopefully. It has a doghouse unlike Hooligan, so water can't get through the front. Should be perfectly watertight. And this was all brand new in like 2023 or 2024, so that's $5,000 I don't have to spend. And any money I don't have to spend, great. This part here disconnects, you can see the sails, and then you can tuck it back into there, but for an anchor it's nice because you can just have a completely shaded area. Having shade like this in the tropics is so important. I'm used to just being inside or wearing like a full hoodie, sunglasses, sunscreen, and it gets old, so I'm really happy with this. This is worth an upgrade just by itself. It's really cool. And I can actually store the outboard back there as well, wherever that is. Just means I don't have to stick it into my bed every time like I did on Hooligan. It's just my tiller extension, but it's easy to get off, and there's an outboard crane here too if it's really rolly and I don't want to throw my back out. So I think I will need to outfit this a little bit for single handing in case I want to do any more of that. This is the sheet for the staysail, and then this is the main sheet. Jib sheets are to the side there. So it's a bit complicated to do it all single-handed at the moment, especially because there's no hydro vane or wind vane on the boat right now. So I might need to modify some of this, but either way, it's perfectly fine for the meantime because I'll be taking friends on board for a little while. And this whole thing is just so safe compared to Hooligan. If I were to try to launch myself off the side here, it just couldn't happen. I guess technically I could fling right through the middle there, but it seems unlikely, and that was really dangerous on Hooligan. Even if I put in a proper lifeline system, it was just such an exposed cockpit, and it's kind of scary even for me after doing all those miles. I've been running the refrigerator and the Starlink and the freezer and all the stuff I need in the boat without running a generator or plugging into shore power once, thanks to this big solar arch in the back. And I could have done this to Hooligan technically, but by the time I added a bimini and a Dodger and the solar panels and the charge controllers and all that stuff, first of all, it would have taken up so much space that the boat wasn't really practical anymore, and it would have easily cost the difference between this boat and the cost of Hooligan to get it into this shape. So I think, although boats are never great financial decisions, this is as good of a financial decision as I could have made right now. And then this stack pack for the mainsail was made brand new at the same time as all the other canvas was. So this is all really nice. The sail is a bit old. The mainsail, I think it was used, but bought by the previous owner in 2023, so eventually I will need new sails for this boat. It's got a 2024 life raft, so that's sweet. I was able to sell the one off of Hooligan already, make some money back on that, because basically the longer they sit, the less they're worth. This boat has a cutter rig, so it has a big Genoa up front and then also a staysail in the middle. That means depending on wind speed, you can have either head sail out. It just makes it way more simple and safe in a lot of ways, because a smaller sail in higher winds is less likely to rip than a bigger sail rolled in higher winds. So that's great. It brings a lot of flexibility, and if you're on a beam reach, you can go faster. There's all sorts of perks on it. The windlass supposedly was fully taken apart and reserviced in 2024. It's got 180 feet of 5/16 G4 chain, which is the best you can get. It's controlled by a little remote, which is a bit different. I definitely like to add the other foot switch and reconnect that foot switch so I can just do it up here in case I'm single handing. And it's got a probably 45, 50 pound rock anchor. These are good. And both the staysail and the head sail are on roller furlers, which makes it even more convenient. Besides the sketchy cockpit, the biggest safety hazard on Hooligan was lack of space to climb up the side of the boat. Obviously on here, there's no lack of space, and I can also wedge myself in here when I'm reefing the mainsail. These are called granny bars, I think. I'm just gonna feel so much better being up here if I'm alone, or even if I'm with crew, or crew being up here, because you can sit here, harness yourself in, and then just do what you have to do without worrying about using one hand to cling to the mast and then try to work with one other while the boat's rolling. It's just a nightmare. All of this looks so good. I think the mast must have been brand new in 2021 or something. Over the last 4 years, I think, this boat has had $110,000 US of upgrades into it on top of the boat's cost. So all the winches look good. They don't run back to the cockpit, at least not all of them. So like I said, I'm going to modify that, but for the most part, I think it's turnkey. It came with a really nice brand new high field inflatable dinghy. I'm going to sell that and keep my True Kit because I like the True Kit a lot. These decks are so grippy too. I'm not going to feel like I'm going to slide off all the time, and it's actually flat. Hooligan was curved like this, so you always felt like you were going to go for a little swim. Not on here. They're a bit worn, but they're not screwed. They're glued on, so there's no risk of this leaking. All of the standing rigging and the chain plates were brand new in 2023. That's a $10,000, $15,000 upgrade just there. There is a bit of a list to port, which means the boat, if you're facing forward, leans to the left. So I've got these jugs on the side. I'm going to try to lighten up the left side of the boat, the port side of the boat, just to fix that issue. I don't think it's super serious. It also came with, I believe, a spare head sail and a spinnaker and so many other extras, but I just don't really know where to put them. So the spinnaker's living here for now. I think I can clear up enough space in that area under the cockpit for it to go. But with a good autopilot and crew, I'll actually be able to use the spinnaker. I looked up these hatches. Supposedly they're best of the best at the time of making them, so I shouldn't have any problems here. They do leak, but that's just because the previous owner, I think, accidentally brought the wrong sort of gasket. It was an easy mistake to make because they built this boat right in between the time period where they switched the sizes, so easy fix. I just got to order it. Lots of storage under here too, where I keep the storm boards, and then I can stick my outboard fuel tank in here instead of putting it on the deck, and all my canvas covers. And here are the propane tanks. There's 2 of them. I'm guessing this probably lasts 8 months or something, both of those. Now I'm going to talk about the hull shape, keel design, propeller, rudder, all that stuff on the bottom below the waterline, as well as the osmosis issue and how I plan on tackling that in Australia or New Zealand. So this propeller setup is a little different than Hooligan because Hooligans just came straight out of the back of the hull. This one is a little bit more exposed to catching on a rope or hitting a whale or something like that, although there is still a massive keel protecting it, so I'm not too concerned. There's this massive fixed 3-blade propeller on here, which is going to slow the boat down quite a bit. So I'm hoping I can put a folding propeller on these eventually, but they're extremely expensive. So in the meantime, I'll just have to sail about half a knot slower than I would with a folding prop. It's got this skeg that supports the prop shaft and also the other cutlass bearing here in the front. The keel is fully encapsulated, so there's no risk of it coming off the boat like there would be if it was bolted on. So it's probably got about 1 inch of fiberglass around it. It weighs 8,000 pounds and it's made of lead. So I was a bit concerned at first. I thought it was cast iron, which is problematic because if salt water gets in there, it can rust and then expand and basically completely destroy the boat. But it's lead, there's no risk of that, and I'm fairly happy with this keel design because it's not like a full keel where it just makes the boat slow and unmaneuverable. It's just still super solid, but it's gonna track upwind better than my old boat will or would, and probably sail a lot better too. So I'm pretty happy with this keel design. I've heard a lot of things about Hans Christian's with this design, and all of them have been good. So this osmosis issue is fairly obvious here because you can see water still dripping out of it even after about a month of the boat being on the hard, and there are just a bunch of them around the boat. I think total 50 or so. It's much worse on this side than it is on the other side. I'm not quite sure why that is. It might be because it was in a marina for a long time and there were more barnacles on one side, or it was exposed to the sun or something, or maybe when they built the boat the epoxy was facing that side where the sun was, so it treated better than the other side. I really don't know. But basically, to fix this, I'm either going to have to patch repair it until I can get somewhere cheaper like Southeast Asia, or just take it down to New Zealand, completely strip the whole back to fiberglass, dry it out for 2 months using heat guns and all that, grind out the old blisters and put a sealing coat on, barrier coat, and then bottom paint. It's not going to be cheap. That's why I got this boat for such a good price, but because I'm going to be doing probably a lot of the work by myself or with friends, and not paying somebody to do it, I think I'm going to come out positive. So it's going to be a massive project and a lot of work, but it's what allowed me to enter this boat at such a relatively approachable cost. And over here on the rudder, I'm okay with the design. It's not quite what I would prefer because this bottom quarter is exposed to hitting stuff, but there is this skeg that's going to protect it from pretty much everything that could hit it. And it's a solid boat. All the fiberglass is really thick and it should be fairly strong. There is some weird goop coming out of it, so I'll probably take this apart when I get to Australia or New Zealand, but as of now I think it's solid. I don't see any blisters in the rudder, which is interesting, but no complaints. And it goes up through the bottom and there's a packing gland like the prop shaft, and then cable steering, so it's not quite what was on Hooligan, but it will be a lot more responsive than the full skeg mounted rudder. Hey, thanks for watching. I've become aware that if I had $1 for every time I said Hooligan in this video, I could keep Hooligan. In the next video, my friend Laura and I will be starting the projects on the next boat, mostly including taking everything out, seeing what I got for Christmas on the new boat, and cleaning. Thanks so much to those of you that have stuck around through all my years of bad YouTubing. I really appreciate the help, and I can't wait to show you guys what's next with my new adventures.